This call is now being recorded.
Okay. Welcome to Kidmissing Radio. I'm your host, Angelina Wilson, and tonight, I am here with Joanne Lowitzer, the mother of Alexandria, Allie Lowitzer. Allie went missing on April 26, 2010 from Spring, Texas. She was 16 years of age. Your daughter was last seen getting off the school bus and headed to pick up a paycheck?
Yes. She had just gotten her very first job, and, what kid isn't excited to get paid? And she was just bound and determined that she was going to get up to the burger barn that day. She had never walked to work before, and my mother was usually here at my house every day after school, before the kids got here. And when Allie started her job, my mother would take her and drop her off up there, and then I would pick her up later that evening. And this was the one day that my mother wasn't able to be at my house. So this was the one and only first time that Allie had ever attempted to walk to work.
Now, was she supposed to have a shift or just pick up the check?
She was just supposed to pick up the check, but she wanted to work. She always wanted to work, but the schedule, well, I can't even say that they had a schedule, because Allie would have to call them every day to ask them if they needed her. It was really strange, but, it's a independent business.
Good work ethic.
Yeah. So, so she called every day, and that particular day, I think I recall her telling me that they didn't answer the phone or something, or he kept telling her to call back later after school. So I know, she wanted to work, and, so she was hoping to get paid and work that evening.
It sounds like maybe she was saving up for a car or something. Is that why she wanted all the hours she could get?
Well, that is to go shopping. She just turned 16 that February, and with this being her first job, she'd been trying for a couple of months to get a job, and she finally got one. And it was the agreement that she would put some money in her savings account from each check. So from her previously being paid, she did put some in her savings account, and then she was allowed to spend some of her money. So, that was the deal when she started working.
Yep, when I started working, that was the deal too. I had to put a certain percentage in the bank.
Yeah.
When I got my first job. And believe me, I guarantee you, I made a lot less than she did. Given that my first job was 30 years ago. So that would have been 30 years ago. I made $95 a week, which was a fortune,
Yes,
but
it was back then.
It sure was. Yeah. It was a summer thing. Now I understand that, first of all, she left her phone charger, her clothes, her money at home.
Yes.
So, yet they were insistent that she ran away, and her makeup and all the things that a girl just wouldn't leave.
Right.
So that kind of makes you think something happened.
I know. And it would just kind of make sense that, with the experience that law enforcement has, that they think those things are important, especially $40 in your wallet. If you were going to run away, you would need money. So.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get very far if you didn't.
Mm-mm.
Now I understand she never made it to Burger Barn.
That's what they say. Were interviewed by both my dad, John, and by the local precinct, and everyone that was there that day say that she never showed up.
So, I mean, it wasn't that far, so what do you make of that? She must have been taken in a fairly short distance, correct?
That's what we think. I mean, after we've had 10.5 years now to think of it, but it just makes sense that she probably didn't even make it far out of the neighborhood, because we clocked how long it was, and it would only take about 18 minutes for her to walk from where she got off the bus right here by the house, and walk a quarter of a mile. And that's how far it was from the bus stop to the actual door of the Burger Barn. And that, when you come out of the subdivision, I mean, the street is not, it's not like a 4-lane highway or anything. It's just 2 lanes.
Yeah.
But, I feel it's a very, a pretty busy street.
Yeah.
You have my subdivision, you have a subdivision across the street. There is, if you keep going past my subdivision, there's another, it's not a subdivision, there's an area of houses on large pieces of property, but there's quite a few houses back there. And then there's the outdoor shooting range, which is directly past our neighborhood, and it alone, has quite a bit of traffic, and then
do you have to walk by the shooting range to go to the Burger Barn?
No, it's in the opposite direction.
Oh,
so
okay.
the traffic,
I was thinking,
yeah.
Because it's outdoors, I had a horrible thought. What if she walked by it, a stray bullet hit her, somebody got scared and hit her?
Yeah, it's.
But you said it's in the opposite direction, so
yeah,
that's a relief.
So the traffic coming out from the outdoor shooting range they would pass our subdivision to get out of the area.
Yeah, I lived in an area similar to that. We were a 2-lane road, but it was country. All our houses were fairly close together. But the road could be very busy because you got a lot of truckers coming off the highway to come to all the little stores and stuff. And so it could be busy. But you also had the horses clip-clopping down the road, leaving their giant presence in the middle of the road. So it could be a big rig or a horse.
Right.
So I get what you're saying. It's not a highway, but the state calls it a state highway and they plow it. So, instead of the town. Now, when did you first begin to worry? Because you thought she might be working. So initially you weren't worried.
Well, I was always worried. It took her a lot of begging for me to even get the okay to walk.
Yeah.
And after the begging and the text messages and phone calls, after her assuring that she would be okay, that's when I gave in, and that was just before 3:00. So I work until 5 every day. Back then I did, and I typically get home around 5:30, and usually when I get home from work, she's there. So she wasn't there that day. So in my mind, I assumed that she was at the Burger Barn. So I sent her a text message, something around, saying that oh, you're working, text me when I need to come pick you up. And, so I started doing stuff around the house, cooking dinner and whatnot. And, usually, Allie responds immediately. And an hour went by and I didn't hear anything from her. So that's when the red flag went up. So I sent her another text and, it's like, let me know when I need to pick you up. And, there was still no response. So, I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe she is working. They won't let her on her phone, or maybe her phone, maybe the battery died, all kinds of things is the reason why she wasn't answering me.
Yeah.
And,
you didn't think to go down there?
not at 6 or 7 o'clock.
I'm not judging you. I just know how my parents would have been. They would have been there. But every parent is different in how they, every parent knows their own child,
Yeah.
And I was not the type of kid. I wasn't very street smart. I wasn't very, you know what I mean? So my parents would have worried probably quicker.
Yeah. Well, I was worried, but I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it ended up being the worst mistake of my entire life.
It wasn't a mistake. You knew your daughter.
Yeah.
And you did what was to you right for your daughter.
Yeah.
It may not have been right for someone else's daughter, but it was right for your daughter.
Yeah.
So don't beat yourself up too much. All I was saying was, I know my parents, and my mother tends to be a worrywart, so they'd have been down there so fast it wouldn't have been funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I trusted her. She always did. She said she was going to do. There was no reason for her to do anything else. So.
Right. Oh, they trusted me. They just didn't trust anybody else. Partly because, and I'm looking for, I don't see her height and weight here, but I'm only 4'8", and I didn't weigh 100 pounds. So my parents had a little more to worry about. Now, she texted a lot, as I understand it, and then silence. That had to be a big red flag.
Absolutely.
Once you realized she hadn't made it, and then she wasn't texting anybody.
Right.
Now, and
that was one of the red flags for me when she didn't text back immediately.
Yeah. But it does make sense, like you said, that they wouldn't want her to have her phone, trying to waitress and having her phone. I'm sure that would be irritating to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Initially, there was no missing persons case. They wouldn't take it, or what happened?
Well, when the local law enforcement first came out to the house that evening, no, she did not make a report.
That's ridiculous.
Was totally ridiculous. If I would have known then what I know now, I would not have let her leave, until she made a report. Everyone says, the first 24 hours, are the most important, and absolutely true. And I feel that if they would have taken this seriously, the night that she was missing, I think that we would have Allie home.
Yeah, there's a really good possibility of it. Now, a neighbor boy said that he did see her go toward the direction of the burger barn, correct?
Correct. Allie, because our neighborhood is, there's one street that goes around the entire neighborhood, and that's the route that the bus takes that just stops at, the different intersections. So at our bus stop, there were two of Allie's friends that would also get off at the same stop. And they're the ones that had verified that Allie did get off the bus. But they didn't walk, the direction of the houses when they did.
Hmm. Yeah, because it says her cell phone's tracking plan that you looked at, you have some sort of tracking thing, or the phone company that you used, showed that she vanished just outside the neighborhood. Does that mean right at the end of your street, or?
Well, there is a cell phone tower that's right at the entrance of our subdivision. And so that, that would be the tower that it would ping at. So even like me right here now, it would ping me at the same tower. So
right.
But that was the last cell phone ping was right here by the neighborhood.
Yeah, in watching, and guys, I do recommend that you go and find it. You can find it online. You can find it on Hulu. The Disappeared, about Allie. That you and your husband did way more than police did for a long time.
And we still are.
Yeah. And the police seem to focus on your son, Mason, which is, I thought,
they
again,
focused on all of us. Yeah.
banging my head against the wall. That poor kid.
Yeah. It was very frustrating because we rattled so many cages, because we don't live in the city of Houston, so our law enforcement is the precinct. And it started out, where the precinct was helping us, and then they handed it off to the Harris County Runaway Division. And when things kind of slowed down with them, we wanted more done. So they passed it off to Harris County Homicide, which we were thinking, oh, this is great. They're going to have more resources. They're really going to be able to do something. And that's when they turned around and started looking at the family. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You're wasting time. And, they started the investigation from square one, and they had to rule the family out first. And unfortunately, I did not know that back then. It made me very angry and upset, with all of the questions that they were asking us. And it wasn't until after I went through a polygraph session and took DNA that, I kind of snapped, and I'm like, well, they're looking at us. And then, that's when I started asking questions. And one of the detectives who was about to retire, and he said, we always have to rule the family out first. And I'm like, thinking to myself, why the hell didn't you tell us this a week ago? We could be so much further along, when they took over the case. But they interrogated John and Mason. They polygraphed us. They polygraphed the owner of the burger barn. They went and talked to Brandon Laverne. He was in prison in Angola, Louisiana. Yeah, because he had
prison.
Yeah, he had murdered Shuna and Lisa. I can't remember Lisa's last name, but he had a sister that lived not too far from where we live, and there were reports that he was in town at the time. And
that must be terrifying.
It was definitely something. It was very stressful, hearing about this information and not being able to do anything about it myself, this was almost, I think it was like 6 months after Allie went missing is when, they found his burnt truck, and Mickey went missing, and, all that stuff in Lafayette. And, it was a very, very stressful time,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's all right. I just, you had said that your police department is a precinct of, Houston. So Spring doesn't have its own police department, or is Spring part of Houston?
No, Spring, we do not have our own police department. So it's a county, it's a precinct of the county. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Harris County is the largest county in Texas.
Yeah, it's one of the largest counties in the entire country.
Yeah. So they have it, downtown, like Houston, the city of Houston is separate. They have their own police chief and, all that good stuff. And, so as everybody that's out of the city, we're divided up into the precincts.
Oh, so none of the towns have their own. That's interesting. Well, around here, all the towns have their own. And the sheriff's department only comes into play for certain things. Now, see, the biggest thing they do is the county jail. And they serve you if you're getting sued for a bill or something. There was a girl, well, before I get to that, Allie texted a boy named Jay from school, and I know they looked at him and ruled him out. And then there was a girl seen talking to someone in a white truck on the road to Burger Barn, and that's where Brandon comes in.
So the road that the witness says that they saw this white truck, it was not on the road that Allie would have taken. It's on, see, that's one of the reports, out there that's not really, correct. So if you think of my subdivision as a square, with only 2 outside roads, so and each of those outside roads has an entrance. So we live really close to one of the entrances that Allie would have taken to go to the Burger Barn, and the other entrance would have been not at the opposite end of the neighborhood, but like on the other corner. And that would lead to a street called Cypress Wood. And Cypress Wood is a 4-lane road. There were no sidewalks at the time, and it would not have been, Allie wouldn't have gone that way to walk to the bus.
No, it doesn't sound like it would have been the safest route to take.
Right.
Yeah, I'm picturing, because we have a lot of subdivisions here in our town, it's growing like crazy. The town I live in now, where I live, we have a square like you're talking about. We have our street, and then you can get to Main Street from about 4 different little streets off of our street. And come right back around to our street, like you said, in a square. So I was picturing what you were saying as it relates to my street. So I could picture it in my head, what you were saying. It all leads back to the same place.
Yeah.
Some are better to take than others, in terms of ease, safety, and all. Well, we're totally safe here, but for the most part.
For Allie, it would have been the length, because it was, it would have taken her longer to walk there.
Right.
She would have to walk to another end of our subdivision on the inside to even get to that other entrance.
Yeah. So that
So,
makes no sense. Now
yeah.
she texted a boy named Jay,
Mhm.
but they checked him out as I understand, and he was ruled out.
He was. Um, he says that Allie had texted him asking if he wanted to come over later. And and unfortunately with AT&T, they don't back up any of the data on cell phones.
Oh,
So
that
there's
stinks.
there's no way for us to find out what the contents of the text messages were. And I think he was the only friend of Allie's that already was old enough to drive and have his license.
Mhm.
So, that's why we were really interested in him. Because we know that there was one other time that he came by and picked her up for school, and they went to school, and they hung out after school a few times. He was over here at the house, but, that's why we looked at him, plus he was the last one to hear from her.
Mm. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And also, you had said that if she had friends and stuff, she always had them at your house.
Yes, typically.
Now, her phone was shut off 10 minutes after she got off the bus. That's not normal for her, is it, to shut her phone off?
No, not at all. No, she was constantly on her phone. During school, before school, after she went to bed, typical teenager. And that was her very first cell phone. We gave it to her for Christmas. And, after her, begging, everybody has a cell phone. I'm the only one that don't have one, type of deal.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I didn't want the extra bill, but,
Was it an
I
iPhone?
paid it. It was not. Back then, back then there wasn't smartphones.
Ah.
So, yeah.
I just got my first iPhone, so.
They had phones back then where you could access the internet, and I think the word apps was pretty new. Back then I didn't know what an app was. But, with the cell phone plan and me, not having a whole lot of money to, to pay for it, our agreement was that she would not, click on Safari to go through the internet because it would charge me something like $2 per minute or something.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I could see, on when I would log into my cell phone account, I could see every time the internet was accessed from either my phone, her phone, or her brother's phone. And so that was one of our rules, that nobody got on the internet from their phones, because back then, there was no Wi-Fi. It was all data. It was all streaming data.
Right. Now they have unlimited data.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, it's
So
only been,
your husband didn't have, it's been
Go
10
ahead.
years.
Yeah.
I was going to say, your husband didn't have one?
We were not living together at the time. So he had his own cell phone plan.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Now, I found it odd, but I know that you have hired 2 different PIs. Most
Mhm.
people know, but for those who don't, a PI is a private investigator. And a woman in Columbus, Ohio says she saw Allie at a church function. The
Mhm.
problem with that was if she's being held in this brothel for underage girls, as your second PI thought, why would they take her to a church function? As a matter of
Well,
fact,
the
go ahead.
the church church, they do a lot of community outreach. And, yeah, so it was a day where they reached out to the homeless community or, the low-income community, and they offered, shaves and haircuts to the men, manicures for the girls. They'd give the kids toys and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. And, I ended up being contacted by this lady randomly, and, she said there was just something off about this girl, when I was painting her nails, and, it bothered her so much that she decided to do some internet research. And she came across Allie's picture, and she was just fully convinced that it was my Allie. And, so a lot of time went by and a couple of trips went by. We did the show Last Seen Alive. They
and disappeared.
Yeah. And, they did end up arresting this girl, and she did go by the name Allie, but she looked nothing like my Allie. Yeah. She didn't even have...
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to say she didn't even have the same color eyes.
Oh.
Yeah. That was very frustrating.
Is this the same person that the undercover cop and the prostitute recognized as alley cats?
It's hard to say, because the private investigator, she had never met Allie before, and when she described what she saw, she was walking through a hallway in a trap house, and it's when you walk down a long hallway and there's no doors on the hinges to bedrooms. It's just a sheet. And she said that she had glanced over into a room, and there was a mattress on the floor, with the girl sitting there, and she said at the time, that it looked like it could be Allie. The girl had the, same features. But, by the time that, I think it was a month that had passed by the time that they did a raid on that house, that same girl was not there.
No, but they rescued 8 other girls.
They did, yes.
Now, Allie's prints have been run and nothing. So you'd think after all this time, if she was on the streets, selling what she has, so to speak, that she would have been picked up at one time or another and her fingerprints would get a hit.
Yeah, you would think that.
I wish that Amber, the PI, could have gotten a picture of her or gotten to talk to her the first time she was there, but she didn't.
Well, when you go into a trap house and you're posing as, somebody wanting to buy a prostitute, you're not allowed to bring any guns, any cell phones. I think they take your cell phone at the door. So there was nothing that Amber had to be able to do any of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is she still working on it?
When we have stuff that comes in, yeah, she'll check it out. Most of the time I can take care of it though. I continue to get, pictures that are emailed to us and, ask if it's Allie, and most of them are pictures of girls selling their bodies on the internet, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
Especially the young girls, because they're forced, And I hear that we have another guest, your dog.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. What's her name or his name?
His name is Churro.
Oh, after the dessert.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Now, interestingly, and I found this interesting, one of Allie's marks is she has a chickenpox scar right between her eyes. That should be fairly obvious.
Yes.
Now, if you have any information, you can call the Harris County Sheriff at 1-713-277-9100.
And
When
people can also
go ahead.
call Crime Stoppers because when you call Crime Stoppers, you can remain anonymous.
Right, I didn't have that number. I just
It's
had the Harris County Sheriff.
It's 713-222-TIPS. And on my website, alexandrialowitzer.com, people can also email me there as well.
That's how I found you.
That's right.
So I'll put that link and both of these numbers in the description when I put up the show after we're done, so people can call them if they want to.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for doing this. I know some of this stuff was hard, and I certainly hope. Before I go, the DNA is in CODIS, right?
It is. Yes, finally.
Okay.
Yeah, it took a couple of years, but yeah, we forced Harris County Homicide to put that in SOTUS.
Good. And
Yeah.
just so people know a little bit about her, she was a Girl Scout, and she sang in the school choir. Recently, a bench was dedicated to Allie.
Yes, we had that dedicated to her, and they set it up at the park where she would play softball.
Now, I saw on the TV that there was a billboard for Allie. Where is that billboard?
It was a digital billboard. Unfortunately, the big permanent billboards are pretty pricey. But with the help of Texas Center for the Missing, periodically throughout the year, every month actually they choose a different missing person. And they usually run Allie around the date that she went missing in April.
Cool.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't realize it was
unfortunately,
digital. Didn't look
yeah,
digital.
yeah, it's digital. So they'll what they do is they donate that air time, and like every 10 or 12 ads, then they'll put in a missing person.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was a little girl that had dreams of going to art school.
She did. Her art teacher, the summer before, no, not the summer, at the beginning of the school year, had given Allie some handouts about a art class at a college that Allie was eligible to go to. I guess it was something special they did for high school kids. So we were looking at that, and Allie had braces on. So after school was out for the year, she was looking forward to getting her braces off. And
what grade was she in?
She was in 10th grade.
Oh, okay.
And she was looking forward to driver's education that summer as well.
Yeah, because she was old enough to have a permit. I never got a driver's license myself.
Oh.
I never got a driver's license.
Oh.
I couldn't pass the eye test.
Oh.
But that's why I was always like to my friends, you can get it. You know?
Yeah.
I was always a big advocate of if you can do it, do it. So.
Absolutely.
I guess when you can't do something and you see others not trying to do it, who can do it, it's irritating. So that's why I was like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I want to thank you so much. This was actually a really nice conversation. I know some of the things that I asked you may have been difficult, and I apologize, but it's important. And as I told you before we went on the air, I wanted this to be about her. I wanted people to know about her. That's why I wrote down the things about art school and about her extracurricular activities, because I thought it was important. People want to help when they feel invested.
Right.
So I try to make
Right.
people feel invested in my cases.
Well,
Thank you
it was
so much.
You're very welcome. And it was
And have
nice
a
talking to you about different
wonderful
things,
weekend.
Allie. Okay.
Thank you. And I will email you the link as soon as I put it up.
Okay.
And thank everybody for listening. God bless you. And remember, #MaskUpMA. That's where I live, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Good night. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Bye.